Hi guys, this is week 17 Project Life and I am starting with my photos as normal. This week though I am using the Cocoa Daisy Pocket Memory Keeping Kit. So this is a little bit of a tease, I'm afraid, because this kit is already sold out, which just goes to show just how good it actually is. I am super pleased with this, but hopefully you'll enjoy watching this anyway. I've got my photos out here and obviously there's a Jack heavy week this week. My sister and Jack were here visiting, so quite a few photos. Well, let's be fair, the whole week involved Jack, so quite a few of the photos involve him as well. So I'm just starting by picking out the cards. I started with the 4x6 cards, and really the one that I wanted to use the most was this lemon card at the top here, so I'm pretty much going to base everything off that. Just going through the 3x4 cards, picking out some of those, and in the end I took out any of the blue ones. I'm going to go yellow heavy this week. There's only one tiny little bit of sort of blue. That top photo of Jack, his bib is sort of a blue and white pattern. In real life it's actually black and white. The photo looks quite blue. So I decided not to use any blue. I'm just going to stick with the yellows. The photos were there's quite a lot of yellowy, orangey sort of colors in there, so I really wanted to brighten things up with a little bit of yellow, so that's where I'm going. I have picked a neutral paper for the bottom right hand pocket because I didn't want it to be too heavy down the bottom, because I've got a white card at the top there. I wanted to balance that out down the bottom. Now I did choose this 3x4 card that had a tag printed on it, and that's where I've gone and typed out my journaling, but I'm not going to leave it as it is. The yellow behind that tag print was a really paley cool sort of yellow, and I liked the more warmer orange yellows for the spread. So I have trimmed out the tag, and I have trimmed down one of the larger papers to a 3x4, and apart from punching a hole in there and adding some thread from my stash, I'm just going to stick that tag back down on top of the pattern paper. So effectively I'm doing the exact same design, just changing up the background of it, which I really like much better. It fits with my photos a lot better. So I'm going to go through all of these die cuts soon. I know that I want to use some of those stamps on this bottom card, and I've also got these chipboards here to play with, and I did have a look through them and I went to punch one out. Often when I use chipboard I like to sort of punch it through from the back, from the front to the back, so that you can use it almost like a die cut until you're ready to stick it down. It helps to place them. These ones, the backing was solid, so I could not punch it through, and I have to try and remember which ones I want to use where, which with my memory did not work well, I can tell you. I was umming and ahhing and having to rethink that decision a lot. So I've gone through all those die cuts and pulled out a few. Lots of them weren't really suitable for this week, so I've pulled out the few that are, and I've also pulled out a couple. I'm going to use them as sort of white shapes, so flip them over and use the reverse of them instead of the front, knowing that they're patterns that I'll probably never use. I did also pull out this little rubber embellishment here with the orange heart on it. It's so cute, and I'm going to add that to one of these banners and then stick that straight onto my photo. The photo, kind of the banner on the die cut was pointing sort of the wrong way for me, so that's why I've covered up the arrow part of it with that rubber piece, which makes it more suitable to the photo. Now this one here I flipped over and stuck down upside down, thinking that I was going to trim out this label here. It's got a tiny little sentiment on it, and I was going to trim that down and use them as tiny words, but having the sort of the white tiny words on the white background, it was just going to get lost. So I peeled that back up and I decided I would trim it out of a pattern. And then I realized that probably what I need to do is make it a little bit taller. The original piece had, again, that sort of arrow bannery shape cut at the top, so I had trimmed that off. So I've just moved it down from the edge a little bit, and it creates a longer shape, and I don't end up using all of that, but it's easier to trim it off and make it shorter than it is to try and make it longer. Now the little sentiment said sunshine on my mind. None of this week had sunshine, so it wasn't particularly appropriate. So I've trimmed out my sunshine for my little photo of Lily, and that definitely makes much more sense for me. And so I've just stuck those on top of the banner. Now I love this photo of Tracy and Jack, and I really wanted to use this little circle that says something about it was a beautiful day. It's a really busy photo, so what I did was back it with the same size circle in white, so it just kind of gives it like a drop shadow but in white. Just makes a bit more of a statement of the piece so it doesn't get lost in the background of the photo. It did look a little bit lonely sitting there on its own though, and there are a lot of circle elements in this kit, so I did want to make a few more circles in here. I thought about using the rubber piece, but again it's got that blue on it. I am trying to avoid that. And I did see the sunshine here in the die cut pack, but the edge of the sunshine isn't actually circle, it's sort of wiggly lines around the sun rays. So I just used a punch and punched that out, but again the yellow gets a bit lost. So I'm going to back that with the back of another die cut to give it a little white outline. And I'm just working out where to put it. It looks best there. It covered up Jack's hand, which sort of annoyed me, but that's where it looked best. So I've just done it. Obviously I'm going to use these photos elsewhere as well because they're so beautiful, so I guess it doesn't matter that much that I covered up his hand. I did eventually decide to swap out the blue rubber piece for a little yellow one that says sunshine. Even though there is no sunshine, I guess it makes sense having it there because Jack is definitely my sunshine. So I've got all these circles going on and I figured, you know, might as well go big or go home. So I'm going to add a couple more. Down here I'm going to use this doily, and I couldn't work out which side to put it on. Obviously I was going for the yellow theme, but the yellow just kind of faded into the background of my quite busy photo, so the white works nicely. Now the reason I'm going through these cards here is because I want to use one of those chipboard pieces that says one word. So I was looking through the cards to try and find a word somewhat related to food, yummy food. There was this ice cream one that says yummy yummy, and I did cut that out, but actually I kind of hate the phrase yummy yummy, so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. What I didn't want to do was drop my glued doily onto one of my other photos, which is exactly what I did do. So you can see me playing around with it, and I decided not to. I end up going back through the cards to see if there's anything else, and there isn't. It's not particularly food themed kit, so there's not much in there. I give it one more go by going through the die cut pieces again to see if there's anything food related, but there isn't. I don't want to use those blue alphas because I don't want to introduce blue at this point. I'm definitely sticking with this yellow theme, so I went and grabbed these alpha stamps out of the Traveler's Notebook kit from Cocoa Daisy. I'm really keen to use these in my Traveler's Notebook, but actually I ended up using them for the Project Life instead, and they are fabulous. Now I was going to stamp the word nom, N-O-M, but there is also the stamp on the stamp set that's obviously supposed to say number, but is spelled N-O, like there's no full stop at the end of it. So I thought it would be interesting to use that instead of the N and O. It just gives me a tiny bit of difference, a bit more interest to the word, and I really love how that turned out. It worked really nicely. I'm not sure how many other words I could make with the word N-O in it as well, but this one worked perfectly. I added the little chipboard piece above it, and I really love that little cluster. In fact, I really love the whole thing, how all of those circles sort of spread from the bottom left all the way up to the top right there. And I decided I might as well carry on the theme here. I went to stick my photo down and figured, well, I might as well use the rest of that doily. The photo does cover up most of it, but it does add just that little bit of texture, and this time I did use the yellow side. It doesn't matter that it's sort of hidden, it just adds a little bit of texture, like I said. Now I want to add this chipboard piece, and again I've just framed it with the back of a die cut, and then my camera cut out and I didn't realize, so this is what I did. I moved it to the left and I stamped and relax on the right hand side there. And then I've got one card left to do, and I figured, oh, I'll try and carry on this circle theme, but The photo was too large to sit on top of the doily. It covered up most of that doily, and I didn't really want to reprint the photo just for the sake of adding a doily in. So instead, I'm going to use these little tile bricky kind of stamps to add a bit of yellow to this card. That was all I was intending to do, was just somehow add a little bit of yellow. So I'm going to alternate the stamps. There are 3 of them in the set, and I'm just alternating all 3 of them and just stamping them in a yellow ink. Luckily, the card paper that I had chosen had this sort of line across it. It's obviously wooden boards, but it gave me a perfect place to stamp in a straight line, so I really liked that. And even though my photo is going to cover up a substantial amount of the stamping, I did stamp it all the way across because I didn't want to guess where that pattern would go. Now again, this is a stamp that's got literally nothing to do with this photo. It doesn't even really have anything to do with the page in general, but it is so cute. I really wanted to use it, and I just ended up turning it into a sort of, you know, embellishment by stamping it onto some yellow pattern paper. I just used a little bit of the same card that I cut out before and just fussy cut around it so that it has just a tiny little bit of a border around it, not a huge amount, but just enough so that you can see a little bit of that pattern. And then I'm going to stick that at the intersection of where my photo and the stamping goes, once I remember to stick my photo down, which was something that I thought I had already done. So cute. Love that the lemon theme carries on, and it's just kind of a little bit of positivity, I guess, rather than a complete reference to the actual photo. Now I had these 2 labels, and I wanted to date stamp in a label this week, so I ended up going with the orange one. Just the yellow one got lost a little bit on that lemon there. So I stuck that down, and then I just grabbed an alpha placement guide just to try and make sure that I can get this stamping as straight as possible. I mean, it's still not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. My one fatal flaw, isn't it? Unable to stamp a word in a straight line. But it's as close as it gets, so I'm just going to stamp out week 17. Obviously there's no numbers in this set, so I just spelled it out, exactly what I was trying to go for, just spilling it across the page here. And I really love this alpha. I love how it looks, and I'm glad I didn't interrupt my theme with the blue alphas, even though I do love them and I'll definitely use them for something else. I like the heaviness that this black stamping gives the title card too. It just balances out everything really nicely. So that's this whole page done. I really love how this turned out. Those bright pops of yellow are just so sunshiny and cheerful. I really love it. This kit is sold out, like I said, but I will leave the link to the Cocoa Daisy store down below just in case there's something else you'd like to pick up. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below, and if you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.